Bro?
Recording now.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening for this presentation, Awaken Your Inner Genius. And before I introduce our host this evening, the man who's really going to inspire us all and someone who is such a great person to listen to. You know, some people are so infectious because they love what they do and they love to share possibility. They love to share things which everyone is interested in. You know, I've got a magic wand here, and if all you had to do was ask for better ask for more money, most people would say just wave the magic wand. But obviously, it's not as simple as that. And I met Dr. Rakowski a number of years ago through unforeseen circumstances. This actually is a picture of my wife after having gone brain surgery for a very aggressive brain tumor. And that's how our paths crossed. And who would have believed that 8 years on, or 8.5 years on, that Dr. Bob and I would be in business together, that Hannah would write a cookbook, and we would have helped so many people simply by sharing something with them. Because what Dr. Bob shared with us at the time, he probably didn't know that it would become what it's become today. Through him simply sharing an idea or sharing a product with us, we've had the opportunity to seriously grow a business from home and impact the lives of so many people. Now, you probably saw the title of this presentation is called Awaken Your Inner Genius. And the first thing I want to ask you is, do you actually know what that word means, genius? Because when you ask most people if they think they're a genius, most people will say, no, of course I'm not. And you say, well, who's a genius? And they might say names like Albert Einstein or Cristiano Ronaldo or people who are Mozart. But actually, the word genius comes from the Romans, and it actually means the inner voice, the guiding voice that is moving you forwards in your life. Now, everyone has that voice, the voice that wants to grow, the voice that wants to contribute, the voice that wants us to make a difference. We all have that voice, and it's probably that voice that got you to come and listen to this evening. But we also have the other voice, the voice that wants us to stay where we are, the voice that says, oh, it'll be okay, it'll be fine, don't worry. The voice that just wants us to be comfortable. And I really encourage you to think about your genius talking to you right now, saying, wow, this is an unbelievable opportunity to learn from Dr. Rakowski, as he shares some real practical knowledge and wisdom that could seriously help transform your life, your health, other people's health, and also for your ability to have what some people are calling the gig economy, or another option of income, another way for you to build a life that you are entitled to. So Dr. Rakowski is a chiropractor. He's a nutritionist. He's the clinic director of the Natural Medicine Center in Houston, Texas. He's worked with people from all walks of life. And he's such an interesting person to listen to. And I'm sure you will take some knowledge away from this evening that will really help you to wake up your inner genius. So without any further ado, I'd love to hand it over to you, Dr. Bob. And thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Well, Pete, you know what? It's always a joy. You know, you are one of the most witty, entertaining people ever. The magic wand. You know, if there ever was anything that was like a magic wand, we're going to share that today. It takes a little bit of effort, but it is pretty magic. You know, I'm going to just give a short story of how I got here now on this Zoom, because if you turn back my life, you know, half a dozen years ago, I was absolutely on top of the world. Health, happiness, prosperity, travel, freedom, all that great stuff, A-list practice, teaching doctors all over the world. But then I had a really good dose of scare. And there's very few things that'll get people in action faster than a serious scare. And mine wasn't like Hannah's. You know, I didn't have a brain tumor, but I did have chronic shoulder pain, and I had an x-ray done that actually showed that it looked to be like lesions, multiple lesions in my shoulder that were eating away at the bone. And, you know, I got this report just before I was leaving town, and it, you know, you read a report like this, it'll scare you because it looks like you have metastatic cancer. And, you know, I couldn't imagine that that would be true, but literally I left town for a lecture series to have the MRI scheduled when I got back. And I thought, well, what if I have a year or so to live, right? My kids are not in any position to take over my clinical practice. They certainly can't take over the lecture circuit. So what's going to happen to the security of my family? And ultimately, we'll share what you and I both have done, Pete, to really thrive in all times. There is no uncertainty when it comes to coffee. People drink it every day, multiple times a day. We have a better coffee. And now we have a way of synergizing with the brain. I like wisdom like you do. And I like this quote from Confucius. He said, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. So can we simplify making a better brain? And I'll show you now that science shows that we can. So this was an interesting article that suggested that everybody's brain is more powerful than every computer in the world combined. Now, there's good science behind that. You would be amazed if you even tapped into a fraction of your potential, which, by the way, we all can. Since I'm a nerd, I'll share this stat. Our brain has 100 trillion connections, and that's more leaves than exist in the Amazon forest. So your brain is wonderfully interconnected. Daniel Amen is a world-renowned doctor. This was his TED Talk. He's literally looked at over 100,000 brain scans to date. And what he found out is that you can change people's brains. And I'm going to talk about a technology called NeuroTracker, which is used by elite athletes, elite organizations, elite doctors, elite clinics all over the world. And I will share with you that we now have a partnership with NeuroTracker. So Matt Ryan, Atlanta Falcons quarterback, is a wonderful user of NeuroTracker. Manchester United uses NeuroTracker. Steph Curry and a number of other NFL teams, or NBA teams, NFL teams, Major League Baseball teams use NeuroTracker. And basically, it's a game which takes 6 minutes a day where you trace balls in 3D on a screen. It's almost like the shell game. You start with 2 balls, then you go to 3, then you go to 4, then you go to 5. And you've got to track them all as they move through space at different speeds. And it's a fun thing, but because it's clinically proven, there are clinics all over the world that use this NeuroTracker technology, and they charge $100 a session. And I'll share with you before we're at the end of this that you get back to whoever invited you to this Zoom, and you can use this technology in your home, at your computer, unlimited for $299 for a 1-year subscription. So I like to share the science. So this is the medical study, National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, that shows that NeuroTracker can monitor concussion recovery in professional athletes. And that's how it was first used to see, okay, how's this brain bouncing back? Well, why are we talking about it, and why did Organo partner with them? We're going to find out that there are a number of studies where Ganoderma makes the brain better. This study shows that it decreases the inflammatory process, swelling, and breakdown of the nervous tissue after a brain trauma. This is a patient of mine that had a brain trauma. He happened to be in my clinic the same day as Evan Holyfield was there. But you'll see these scars on the side of Michael's head because the doctors cut pieces of his skull off and put them in a petri dish and preserved them until they could reattach them. So why did they remove parts of the skull? Because the brain swelling was so bad, if they didn't, the brain would have crushed itself within the skull. Michael Morris's family was called to the ICU when he was there, and his kids were told, say goodbye to your dad. He's not going to live through the night. Michael Morris, on my video, on my Facebook page, he says, you know what? I felt so good. I felt like I could have jogged home at 23 days. They predicted only 60% mental recovery, yet Michael finished last year, 2019. His injury was in May of 2019. He finished as one of the top bankers in the world before the end of the year with an epic recovery, which, by the way, he relates to taking Ganoderma consistently. So we talk about professional athletes, but NeuroTracker also helps recovery of pediatric brain injury. This was a child that had a brain injury so bad that he had multiple seizures. At the time that I saw him, he was having multiple seizures every day in spite of taking very strong anti-seizure medication. and his liver enzymes were starting to elevate. So doctors were getting very concerned. So I put him on a program of hot chocolate, Ganoderma shakes, which by the way, tastes like liquid birthday cake, and spores, which were sprinkled on his food. And within 6 months, he was off of medication and seizure free. NeuroTracker also works with the elderly, and it improves their cognitive process very, very fast. There are over 50 published studies on the efficacy of NeuroTracker. There's thousands of studies on Ganoderma. This is one that shows that it actually dissolves amyloid plaque in the Alzheimer's brain and improves circulation. This is before and after they gave rats a brain injury. It's not really before and after. This is the level of plaque that was in the brain at 21 days of rats that didn't get Ganoderma. This was the level of plaque in their brain without. You can see that Ganoderma does a very nice job dissolving amyloid plaque. This medical study shows that it can prevent Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And this is a woman who, her daughter came to a health talk that I gave one time, and she said, I wonder if this could help my mother. Longer story is she's in a wheelchair because she had one leg amputated because of diabetes, and she had a wound that wasn't healing on her remaining leg. So that leg was at risk. When she started giving her Ganoderma, the leg recovered very, very fast, but also she started getting her brain function back. At 3 months, the doctor said that both her dementia and her diabetes were in complete remission. So this woman, Donna Mae, got 2 extra years with her family with much better quality of life. Here I have a number of studies where I've called out. You can screenshot it if you want, but here's the simple summary. Ganoderma is proven to enhance all the major brain chemicals. So it can help your brain to experience more joy. It can help your brain to have more peace. It can help your memory. It can help your focus. And it can even help your movement, your fine motor control. That's dopamine. And that's why that is associated with Parkinson's disease and why Ganoderma is shown to be anti-Parkinson's. So this has been a 2-year project. Organo started talking to NeuroTracker, and they literally said, okay, let's see if we have synergy here. And quite simply, they found that when they added Ganoderma to people taking NeuroTracker, the results were better and faster. So we have that type of synergy, and now we have an exclusive with the NeuroTracker company and software. 53 published medical studies on NeuroTracker. I shared 3 of them in the early introduction of this, but look who is using this technology. NASA, the Air Force, major sports leagues, since we have the UK, Manchester United. You look at Berkeley, you look at McGill. Why do all of these major organizations use this? Well, one simple answer: it makes them better. And as I mentioned, it was $100 a session if you wanted to get it in a clinic, but now you get unlimited for $300 a year, $299. So when I talk about all of these elite athletes, I can tell you that I rarely see people more dedicated to their craft, more dedicated to their success than these athletes. But guess what? Every single one of them stopped their supplements after their season or after their world championship or after their career in some of those cases. But guess what? Every coffee drinker continues to drink their Ganoderma coffee every day, multiple times a day. They never plan to quit. And in fact, once you get used to our product and you see what it does for you, I don't know anybody that will drink any other coffee once they start enjoying ours. So, I asked this question: if we had 2 lines, people were to line up for coffee and for vitamins, which line would you be in? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm as diligent about my health as you could imagine, but I promise you the first thing I have every single day is my coffee, and I never miss, and I never plan to quit. Now, do I have vitamins every day? Well, most days. Do I miss? I do. Even I miss. I don't plan to quit, but I miss doses of that, but I never miss my coffee. Medicinal mushrooms are a $50 billion a year market, so that's huge. Ganoderma US alone is $2.5 billion a year. So there is competition out there, but this is what most of the competition looks like. If you're consuming Ganoderma, great idea. I want to ask you if the company that is supplying your Ganoderma has spores. That's how the mushroom replicates. And very few companies do. And even if they do, we have a process that we patented by which we get the most nutrient availability from the spores. So ours is much, much, much better with more quality certifications than any nutrition company that I've lectured for all over the world. Over the last 2 years, we have also created on demand of the market a vegan protein shake. So you can see the 4 different types of epic plant proteins. You can see adaptogens. You see 5 different mushrooms. Why did we create this? Because we know that people benefit, especially from a plant-based diet. We know that there's synergy among the mushrooms. And we also created a new energy drink. Now, these are coming out, it should be 4th quarter this year. And if you're paying attention to the calendar, that's, maybe 3-4 months from now. But the NeuroTracker is available now, and it has been studied with our coffees and teas and shown to be healthy. So I'm going to keep the brain section pretty simple. I'll just summarize by saying that we have the best ways known to man to enhance brain health and performance. And Pete, I'm going to see if we want to go live mic or see if there's any questions in the chat. And let's answer those for people before I get into part 2. As I tell people, the product is for everybody. Business is for those that see the world like you and I do, and like Zap does, and like Dan Jukes does. And we realize, wow, not only can we make the world better with products, we can secure and expand our financial future. So any questions in the chat, Pete, or do we open up?
Yeah, does anyone have any questions? I think what's really exciting is obviously tea and coffee is a massive, huge market. I mean, the world is just not running out of people that are going to want to consume that. But now what Organo is giving us is another vertical, another opportunity to reach out to people that really specifically want to improve their brain function, their focus, their clarity. How effective is this type of thing in the type of prevention, would you say, of brain problems, brain challenges like dementia and Alzheimer's? That's my question, by the way.
According to the medical literature, vary, right? So that's why we have the published studies. And so I'll share a couple of things. One, I lectured 7 years ago at a conference with a Dr. Dale Bredesen. And he was submitting his research that led to the publication of his book, The End of Alzheimer's. And now they literally have thousands of documented cases of Alzheimer's reversal. Now, for people that are not well versed in that, here's what I tell people. When there's a brain problem, there are 3 distinct zones of nerve cells. There are brain cells that are dead. Well, there's nothing we can do about that. There's brain cells that are fine. Well, there's nothing we need to do about that. But in between, there are cells that are functional but not functioning. And if we can improve that function, we can get function back. So I showed the picture of Donna Mae, and guess what? Her dementia was reversed, and the only change in her program was Ganoderma. Now, we can't make claims about our product, and I won't. But the medical literature has made those claims about Ganoderma. I showed the picture of Michael Morris. And, we put him on a very good nutrition program. And in the video, he says, I think that saved my life and enhanced my recovery. So when he had that severe brain trauma where the medical doctors had to cut his skull into pieces to keep the brain from literally dying under the pressure within the skull, he made an epic recovery when he wasn't even supposed to live through the night, let alone make a mental recovery. So how good is it? It's as good as it gets, Pete. It is the most documented supplement. And then you look at NeuroTracker being documented on every level, pediatric brain injury, whatever age you want to call our demographic. Actually, we see different demographics, right? We've got the millennial genius, Zaf Khan on there. Pete, I'm trying to think of what they call you, but I'm a baby boomer, right? You're between me and Zaf. And, all of our demographics work. And then, of course, we have, I guess people don't want to be called geriatric, but the generation before mine, my gosh, I'm one generation before geriatric. That's a little humbling. But at any rate, all demographics do really well with it.
Okay, so Terry says, does Ganoderma have an effect on the production of NAD, N-A-D?
Well, so when we start looking at NAD, people think of that in terms of energy, and it's just one part of energy processing. So what we do have data on is that Ganoderma increases mitochondria electron transport chain production and electron transport chain efficiency, and that's within the PubMed. So mitochondria and the electron transport chain make 94% of human energy. And so when we enhance that, we increase our energy very, very efficiently. That's simply one component of electron transport. NAD is for nicotine adenine dinucleotide, which is based on B3. And by the way, Ganoderma has all the fabulous 50, all the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, proteins, carbohydrates, fat, fiber, and water, including the entire B complex in activated form. And by the way, there's 22 steps in the electron transport chain, all of which are nutrient dependent, all of which Ganoderma has the nutrients to help that get better. And that's why we see that in the medical studies. So that was a very specific question. So I hadn't read specifically about NAD, but I'm going to assume because of its critical part in electron transport, that's where that question was asked.
So, when you get asked questions like that, I don't know about you, but I sometimes think, I don't know what you're talking about. But believe you me, when it comes to, if you're interested in growing this business, you don't need to know any of this stuff, really. We have the resources for people that do want to know. But ultimately, so many people who try these products, they like them, they feel better for taking them, and they want more of them. And that really is how so many people here have grown this business. I don't know if there's any other doctors here this evening. Are there any doctors in the house apart from Dr. Rakowski?
Well, Pete, I shared it on Facebook Live, and I saw a handful of them log in. So, we literally, now, you also don't have to be a doctor, by the way. Zaf, where did you get your medical degree from, if you could share? Zaf Khan? Was it Yale or Harvard that you got your doctorate? Zaf Khan.
Dr. Bob, no medical degree, just copying and pasting.
Well, isn't that fascinating? So, Zaf, you are helping South Africa, and I want you to share because, one, you're making so many lives better, but did I just hear you didn't get your medical degree from Harvard?
No, not anything close to that. Just simply copying and sharing.
And by sharing healthier coffee, if I heard you correctly, just your coffee business alone, you are earning, we don't want to make income claims, but basically over 8x the average South African income.
Yes, Dr. Bob, that's true. Yeah, I was blown away. But yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm super proud of you, and I think I hear Rose in the background, and my love to both of you, and thank you for making our world better.
You're welcome, Dr. Bob. Hi, Pete.
Hi, Rose. Good to hear you guys. We have a question here. Is there a correlation between menopause and brain fog? What can I do to take for hot flashes, brain fog, and sciatica?
Well, so one, there's a lot of ways that people describe brain fog. And let me share that as someone transitions into menopause, and I'm going to give a little bit of a longer explanation, but I love stories that are memorable. So I've lectured in Sweden many years since the early 1990s. And I try to pick up a little bit of the language. And the Swedish term for ovaries is egg stalkers. And so we know when a beautiful little girl is born, she has more than 1 million eggs in her ovaries. And we also know that these eggs disappear over time. So because they're no longer healthy enough to make a baby. So by the time a female is 37, she's down to 25,000 eggs. By the time she's 52, there's no more eggs in most women. So at that point, the egg stockers close shop. So the ovaries are no longer making estrogens or progestins. But the adrenal glands, which are also the anti-stress glands of the body, do make estrogens, they do make progestins, but they also make a precursor to estrogens and progestins, which is called DHEA. And if anybody wanted, they could look up the term intracrinology, intracrinology, intracrinology. And we know that all the cells of the body that need estrogens, progestins, and even androgens can make it from DHEA. So the reason I take that long tangent is when people are under stress, and menopause is a stress, and their adrenals are not healthy enough to make them the hormones in the balance that their body wants, their body actually triggers a stress response. And when you trigger a stress response, you alter your brain circulation. So the higher level brain centers get less blood flow. The concentration chemicals drop, the happy chemicals drop. So you can get brain fog, you can have memory issues, you can have issues with having less joy in your world. But guess what? Ganoderma buffers the stress of the body, it buffers the stress of the mind, it increases brain circulation, and by buffering that stress, it can help the adrenal glands to make more DHEA. It also then gives the nutrients to help the cofactors to convert DHEA into estrogens, androgens, and progestins. And it also enhances the acid-alkaline balance in the body where all of these hormones are more effective. So the question was, is there a correlation between menopause and brain fog? Yes. And what can you do for hot flashes, brain fog, and sciatica? Well, we obviously want to find out all the causes. As I tell people, there's more than we can do that can be done than just Ganoderma, but that is a great start. And we have a network of people all over the world that we can connect you with that can give you a little more guidance if that is needed.
Okay, and just two more questions. Someone says, can Ganoderma help with cerebral palsy?
Well, I lectured at a conference in Sao Paulo, Brazil in the 1990s, and there was a brain researcher there who his specialty was hyperbaric oxygen, and I still remember him so effectively. His name was Dr. Neibauer, and he was showing phenomenal improvements in cerebral palsy patients, which, by the way, is a brain injury early in life, usually hypoxic, usually low oxygen. And hyperbaric oxygen was helping these patients tremendously. But does Ganoderma improve brain circulation? Yes, it does. Does that help cerebral palsy? Well, it should. I hadn't read that study yet, but by improving brain health and brain oxygenation, that's a step in the right direction.
Okay, and then just the last question. Someone's asking, I have a 5-year-old. I take it on the hot chocolate. Is that okay?
Oh, it's more than okay. Yeah. And in fact, I tell people, I have a beautiful granddaughter, and her mother consumed Ganoderma. That's my husband's wife, Megan, consumed Ganoderma every day throughout pregnancy. And I have another granddaughter on the way any day now, any day. I'm predicting 8, infinity times infinity. But she has consumed Ganoderma. My daughter, Christy, has consumed Ganoderma every single day. Both had an absolutely beautiful pregnancy. All of their weight gain was baby, just baby. And when you start looking and how wonderful. So Pete, I literally, my screen lit up and it said, which coffee or tea products would help someone with premature ovarian failure and fibroids and muscles that feel constantly achy? So one, if it is true premature ovarian failure, well, they've already failed. So prevention trumps cure. So is Ganoderma good for the factors that keep the ovaries healthy? It is. That's well proven. And Ganoderma is in all of our products. Fibroids is both an immune dysfunction and an estrogen toxic circumstance. So Ganoderma enhances immune function and helps to clear toxic estrogens. muscles that constantly feel achy. Well, guess what? Ganoderma modulates the inflammatory process by over a dozen proven mechanisms and is even proven to have clinical efficacy for the condition known as fibromyalgia. So someone said, am I taking questions live from the Facebook live chat? And the answer is, you know what? With this wonderful technology, I literally could see if you typed a question in. So I could potentially answer that question if it were there. Can I speak to weight loss? That's what we did last time. So Ganoderma 1 improves satiety. So what is satiety? That's the center in your brain that says, aha, my body has what it needs from my food. I'm not hungry anymore. But the Global Nutrition Report said that every single country on planet Earth now suffers from malnutrition. So we're very blessed that less of the world is starving, right? None of us want anybody ever to starve or go without the right quantity of food, but we have a population that is increasingly starving for nutrition. So scientists found out about 50 years ago that they could grow a big plant with only 3 minerals, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and that is the top fertilizer in the world. So, but it does take 30 elements to grow healthy plants, animals, and humans. So as I tell people, I don't really care where your bank account starts. If you pull out 30 elements for every 3 you put back in, you're ultimately going to have a problem. And that's what we're seeing. So we've become depleted in terms of a population, so people keep eating and they're becoming obese. So 1, Ganoderma impacts the satiety centers. 2, Ganoderma is really, really good for thyroid, including autoimmune thyroid. 3, Ganoderma is really, really good for stress. Stress inhibits metabolism and fat burning by multiple mechanisms. 4, Ganoderma is really good for what's known as the anabolic hormones in the body. That could be testosterone, estrogen, growth hormone, because under stress circumstances, all those are shut down. 4, Ganoderma is good to modulate insulin release. Remember that insulin is the storage hormone. Insulin says store fat, don't break down fat. 5, it alkalizes the environment, which makes the hormone binding more effectively. 6, it improves the oxidation reduction potential of the receptors, which makes hormone function more effective. 7, it has intracellular function where it increases hormone efficacy. So there's so many different mechanisms by which it helps fat loss, including the microbiome, which are the bugs in the gut. We do have a Zoom on that, but remember what I tried to start out with, progress is the complication of simplicity. That's a Confucius statement. And I just gave you a really complicated answer for my medical friends, but Ganoderma is really good for fat loss. And it's proven in the medical literature. Put it in your body and see how you do.
Excellent. That's it in terms of questions. So if you want to make a transition.
So we're gonna make a pivot. So here's what I like to tell people, and here's how I've heard it said best. The products are for everybody, right? We could mention coffee, we could mention tea, we could mention all organic, healthy skincare. We could say we also have a travel company which has the best travel price in the industry. Now we have a brain line, we have vegan protein coming out. This company crossed $1 billion in sales faster than IBM, faster than Facebook, faster than Microsoft, faster than McDonald's, without a single dollar spent on advertising, without a single storefront. Why? Because we have great products and people like Pete Cohen that say, you know what, I can share this, are being wonderfully rewarded. So what I'm going to do is just share a very simple overview of the business model, because the business model is simple. We do tend to complicate it, but it's super, super simple. So over this break, I watched the documentary, or the biography, if you want to call it, Jobs, about Steve Jobs. And Steve said, you know what, think differently. And when you think different, you're going to get different results. Most of us realize that our time is our most precious resource. And what if you actually had people, you know, on your team helping you build your business every single day? So I'll share my numbers quickly, but there's no limit to how many people that you can share the business with. And there's no limit to how many people they can share the business with. And so when I look at people like Zaf Khan, I think Zaf's team is now many thousands of people strong. And how did that happen? Well, he shared with a few friends who shared with a few friends who shared with a few friends. and the numbers continue to grow. Tens are easy. Let's say that, a week, we do this next week. Let's say next week you got 10 people to watch the Zoom and they said, wait a minute, you mean I can make my brain better? You mean that my coffee's better? You mean that there's other benefits to these companies? You mean I get to partner with people like Pete Cohen? Yeah, all those things are true. And they say, you know what, I want to be a part of this. Suddenly you have 10 people on your team. Well, what if they all got 10 the following week that did the same thing? Well, then you're at 100. Oh, what if you're at 1,000? Well, by the time you're at 1,000, you're going to make some pretty good money. I like 7, so I'm going to share my magnificent 7 leaders, and they're all pictured here. And you'll see Pete and Hannah there. And why don't I have Zaf Khan on that picture? Well, because that's on Pete's team. It's also on my team. Why don't I show Eric Higgins on there? Why? Well, they're on Pete's team, but they're also on my team. So you don't even have to meet these people yourself. Once you get 7 people on your team, what happens when all 7 of those share? Well, your team grows by 49. What about when they share and they share and they share? Well, just 5 generations deep, you have nearly 20,000 people on your team. Our team has crossed over 17,000 people strong. And let's just share a little math. If they all just had 1 coffee a day, and I'm going to say the average coffee is going to be $1. Now, a black is less than $1, a latte is right at about $1, and a mocha is more than $1. But that's just 1 a day. Imagine if you had 17,000 people doing that. Suddenly, you have a business that does $17,000 a day in sales. And I'll tell you what, that's way more than the average Starbucks does in daily sales. If you get what I'm going to call a strong team, and that would be about 7 leaders, well, you'll get maybe 8% of your team volume. And keep in mind that would be your profit every single day. If you have less leaders, then you get a lesser percentage of that. But how does that add up over the course of a year? And all I can say is that it adds up epically. So quite simply, what we'd like to offer you now all is an opportunity to get back to whoever invited you to this Zoom and say, you know what, I want a better brain. Sign me up for the NeuroTracker. I think I can share this. Sign me up as a business partner. And oh, by the way, I want to start building my business. Well, if that's you, we welcome you, and we're doing all that we can to help you wherever you are in this wonderful world. And Pete, I know I made that brief and short and sweet, but it's not any more complicated than that. What I'd like to do is just ask you, you do a lot of things. And in fact, you're one of my favorite speakers. I call you the British Tony Robbins. But Pete, how have your live speaking gigs been over these last few months?
Well, yeah, it was an interesting time because we had focused on my speaking business, a few of us, and it started to really, a lot more gigs, a lot more events, and just literally just overnight, they just completely went, they just disappeared, and actually left with a few companies that owed us money as well for work we've done that haven't paid us. But it just kind of, I don't know about you, I like a crisis. One of the things which happened to me is I've realized how I thrive in difficult times. I think where I don't thrive is little things that for some people aren't problems, but I make little things into problems. But that's something, there's always work in progress. But I just figure that what COVID has done for me and Hannah has just made us really focus on Organo, and what we've been able to do over the last few months is just take that to the next level, focus on people in our business that want to grow as well. But, I think the other point I just want to make really quickly is I think that a lot of people are living in what I would call cloud cuckoo land, because the whole world, I spoke to a futurist, and futurists are people who basically are able to look at what's going on now and predict what's going to happen in the future. And one of them actually said to me the other day, he said, what people don't realize is the future that people predicted 10, 15, 20 years down the line, that's going to start happening by the end of this year. And he explained that part of that is simply because so many traditional jobs will go, industries will disappear, the way people work will massively change, and the click, pay and send model is just going to go to a whole new level. And even before COVID, which a lot of people don't realize here in the UK, that the government was actually saying to people who have jobs, you have to have another stream of income outside of what you currently do. That's been furloughed for the moment. But I just think that Organo is such an amazing opportunity for people. And it's not, I mean, nothing is foolproof, right? But in terms of foolproof options, there aren't many better opportunities than this, where you get to work with people that you like, you get to see people grow, and you get to do things like this on a Saturday night, working with you and some amazing people. So yeah, I think we really do need to look at this. And then the other thing I'll say is I just think we really, really need to tell everybody about this, because they need to know. People need to know about this. No question about it.
Well, Pete, you mentioned, I don't know what term you use, something cuckoo land, but you have such a way with words.
Yeah, what do you think about, what's going on? And
well, I'm trying to be politically correct here. But here's the deal. It's way overblown. When you have world top health experts and people in the medical field, there's been a number of press conferences where doctors are saying, we have things that are very helpful. We have approved medications that are helpful, and their press conferences are removed from the internet and their websites are canceled. And, there's something not right about this whole circumstance. Pete, you and I we can't name this virus and then say and use this as a reason to get healthy, because people think we're abusing the circumstances to promote products. We can't mention the pandemic in terms of income, because the regulators say that we're feeding off of people's fear. But what we're trying to do is empower people to better health and better wealth. And I think if, we have this brain issue, I think if people's brains were working better, they could see past the fear. There is a demographic of people that needs to be protected, and we know who those are. Those are people over 70 that have immune compromise. We have a Yale researcher that says the probability of a child dying from this is the same as the child, dying from a lightning strike. Someone in our age demographic who are healthy, our probability of dying from this is the same as the probability of dying in an accident on our car ride to work in the morning. So, the people that are at risk, they should be protected. The rest of us need to take proactive health strategies.
Well, not just health. I mean, obviously health comes first, but also, just the economy. This whole thing is going to change. The whole game is going to change. And when Hannah and I had been in the business for a while, we were at an event, at a European Organo event, and one of the leaders came and met Hannah and met some of our other team members. And I told him the story of what had happened to Hannah, and he just was quiet. And at the end, he just said to us, he said, the way that, Hannah fought cancer, that's the way you have to fight for this business. If you really want this thing to be successful, you put your heart and soul into it, and you go after it with this relentlessness of possibility that it's going to take you somewhere, and doing that in the right way, not hassling people, just being a good human being. You will lay some foundations that could seriously take care of you and your family for the rest of your life.
Pete, if I can, we have a superstar that's fairly new to the business. I'd like to, if she's up for saying a few words. Hannah Lee, are you, you're fairly new in this, but wow, your team is growing rapidly. What are you doing? How are you doing this? How are you sharing? Yeah. Can you share?
Hi, Dr. Bob.
Happy, beautiful evening.
I'm going to try. The reception is not good tonight, but we are sharing. We are sharing with everybody. Doesn't matter where we go. We've always got product in our cars, always in our handbags, and we're just sharing away.
So you just give people a sample of coffee or tea?
Yes, we're just sampling. We also got little sample bags with 5 different products in, so they can buy that if they want to try more than only the normal latte or black that they usually drink. So yeah, we just sharing, really just sharing.
And by the way, so you have a VIP on your team, which means she crossed over 2,500 in volume in terms of sales, and she's 11 years old.
Yes, Aneska.
How did she do it?
She's relentless. She's only sharing. I told Zaf the other day, I think we created a little monster.
Well, Confucius said, progress is the complication of simplicity, and most of us adults complicate it. I listened to Aneska's interview. It's part of our Facebook group, and she said, I just share. I just tell people, you need to drink this. And she did 2,500 in sales in a month at age 11. You know, her future is very bright, and she teaches us how to succeed. Pete, I'm going to go back to Socrates as I wrap up, because what you were told is how Hannah fought for her life. A young man, you know, adopted Socrates as a mentor, and he says, how can I be successful? And Socrates said, you know, meet me at the lake tomorrow morning. And so the man met Socrates at the lake, and they walked out into the water, and Socrates was a pretty strong guy. And he says, oh, are you going to teach me how to be successful? And Socrates says, of course. And he took him and he dunked him under the water. And he held him down and he held him down. And since he was so strong, he could hold him down and hold him down and hold him down. And then finally, with a huge burst of, you know, anger and energy, the guy got up and got his breath. And he looked at Socrates. He says, what's wrong with you? Why were you trying to kill me? And Socrates said, well, you wanted me to teach you about success. He says, yeah, I didn't want you to drown me. He says, well, when you want success as bad as you wanted that breath, you'll have it. Mm-hmm. And that is the wisdom that is timeless. If you really want to succeed in this business, you have a whole group of people all over the world that are ready, willing, able, and credentialed in whatever you want to help you. You've got a company that's not going to stop. They are going to be the Apple of this industry. They are going to lead it. They're going to cross billions. And those of us that partner with them and share are going to be wonderfully successful. Pete, I like to wrap up with 3 very wise questions from one of my wise mentors that passed. That's Jim Rohn, who, by the way, he's the guy that launched Tony Robbins, but he became a millionaire in this business model in the 1960s selling vitamins. And when Jim Rohn would wrap up a meeting like this, although his were live, ours are Zoom at the moment, he would ask these 4 questions, and here they are. First question is, why? Why did you take the time to be with us on this Zoom? Second question is the answer to the first. Why not? Why not learn about something that can make your brain better, make your body better, make your body composition better, make our world better? Third question is, why not you? Why not you be the next one that finds a Zaf Khan through the internet who changes Africa and the world and creates financial success for himself and his family and for you for introducing? And here's the final question, why not now? The longer you wait to act on information, the least likely you are to act on it. I would go back to whoever invited you to this. Those of you that are still here, stuck out for the business presentation. This business is epic. Pete and I have both had multiple businesses. And here's what I'll tell you. Actually, I'll go back to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, multi-billion dollars in business. What happened to his businesses during this pandemic? 90% of his businesses are down 90%. What about our organo business? Up, 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 and up. Why? People are drinking coffee, probably more than ever. People are looking for opportunity, probably more than ever. People need a better brain, probably now more than ever. And we have that to offer everybody. So get back to whoever invited you and say, this makes sense. And by the way, if you're serious about making money, go with the gold pack. My co-anetic friend, my British Tony Robbins, any words of wisdom to wrap up?
Just thank you so much. And to all of you that are here, you know, Dr. Bob gives us his time every single week. And let's just go crazy to let people know that there's something here, to get them on this call next week, because we need to expose like never before. Because people might not sign up straight away. They might take time, but you show this to people. I promise you, you show it to enough people, you will find people that will build something with you. The future is bright. The future is organo. So thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your day, and happy, beautiful day.
Happy,
Thank you.
beautiful day. Happy, beautiful night. Happy, beautiful everything, beautiful people.